The second part of this lesson in Unit 1, we are going to look at examples of translating expressions, equations, and inequalities. Okay, now that we've laid the groundwork, let's start translating. We'll just do a few of these. The first one we see is the sum of 5 and x. Now these are just expressions, so we won't need inequalities or equal signs here. Sum, I know, means addition, and it's one of those words that requires parentheses. So sum of 5 and x is 5 plus x. It should be in parentheses. Put it through the magic tunnel. And we can't see it very well. All right. The next one we see is 25 less than w. This one's a tricky one that a lot of times people will get wrong. 25 less than w. Well, if I have something like w and I'm taking 25 away from that, then the 25 is going to come after the w. So w minus 25. I don't know if we can all see that. W minus 25. So when you see those words less than, you want the 25 or the number, whatever is less than, to come second. The product of 8 and x. Product means we're multiplying, so 8 and x is 8 times x. And there are multiple ways that we can write that. We can use parentheses, we can use the center dot, we can use or we can just write them next to each other. So 8 times x is fine, or 8 times x. Any of those three ways is perfectly acceptable. The quotient of y and 15. So quotient is division, and when you see the quotient, again, we want to think parentheses if there's more to the problem. If there isn't, we might not need them. But quotient of y and 15, I'm going to write it as I read it. So y divided by 15. Then multiple ways to represent that. Here they have the division symbol. We can also do y over 15 or y divided by 15. Alright, so pause the video here and try to do a few of these problems on your own, and we will come back to them in a second. Let's see how you did. Difference of 8 and s. Difference is subtraction, so we see 8 minus s. The total of x and y. When you total something, you are adding them up. So we see x plus y. Half of x. Of means multiplication with fractions, so 1/2 times x. 3 added to x. 3 plus x. 4 decreased by y. 4 minus y. The ratio of y to 6. That's division. That's one we didn't talk about. Y divided by 6. This should be a y. 3 increased by x. 3 plus x. 5 times x, just 5 times x like it sounds. 2 minus y, just like it sounds. 3 multiplied by n, just like it sounds. Twice x is going to be 2 times x. Those are some other words you can add into the multiplication box. Twice, triple, quadruple, those all mean to multiply. Good job. Next, we're going to talk about translating from the written language into a math expression. So here we're going to say the total cost is the number of cans times 70 cents. So I need a variable here. The first thing says define your variable. That means we want to say what our variable is and what it represents. So I'm going to use C for cans, or the cost of cans, number of cans, excuse me. And to write an expression, it says cans times 70 cents. So 0.70 times C. That would be our expression here. The perimeter of a square equals 4 times the length of a side. Well, here I'm translating the perimeter. So I know that the perimeter is going to be equal to 4 times the length of a side. I will use L for length of side. If we're just translating the expression, I would translate that into 4L, and I'm just writing those next to each other. If you want to take it all the way and make it an equation, we can say perimeter, or P, is equal to 4 times L. So perimeter would equal P in this case. We can also change equations and inequalities into verbal sentences. So there are a number of correct answers to solving these. You just want to use whatever makes sense to you. The easiest way is usually the best, that way we have no room for error. So number 1, I would translate that into 14 plus 9 equals 23. 14 plus 9 equals 23. Instead of using plus, we could have used more than. We could have said added to. We could have said increased by. Instead of using equals, we could say is the same as, is equivalent to, anything like that. For number 2, there's 2 different things that make this a little trickier. First is the inequality, and second is the variable. So I'm starting out with 6, and here we have a less than. So remember, when I translate the inequality sign, I need the word is in front of it. Is less than -5 plus, now here you could say x, but that doesn't always tell us really what we're talking about. We don't have to use the variable x. So instead of using the actual variable given, I want to say plus a number. When you just say a number, that leaves it open to interpretation. You can put any variable into that spot. So a number is what we use for any variable we see. And the is the really important part of the less than statement. Otherwise, I might think it's subtraction. Last one, number 3, 7 times a number minus 2 is 19. Again, you could also use, instead of times, you could use 7 multiplied by, the product of 7 and a number, anything like that. Also a lot of different words for is as well. So again, we can also translate equations into, we can also translate verbal equations into algebraic equations as well. Let's try some right here. 5 times a, so 5a, is greater than. Remember, is means that I have the inequality sign, not a plus sign. So is greater than is that 3 times, now we have the word sum. And remember, whenever we see sum or difference or product or quotient, I want parentheses. So parentheses, sum is addition, and we're adding B and C. Now this one happened to be an inequality, not an equation, but they both follow the same rules here. Next, 9 times y, 9y, subtracted from, so when you subtract something from, that should come second. 95 minus 9 times y equals 37. Here we throw in a power or an exponent. 5 times a number, so 5, and when we see a number, we want a variable, we can use p. 5 times the number to the 7th power is the same as, so this translates to our equal sign, 7 times the same number. So if I use p over here, I need the same number here, so I'm also using p, and cubed is the 3rd power. 5p to the 7th equals 7p to the 3rd, or 7p cubed. Here we have 8 more than a number n, so in this scenario they're telling us what variable to use. So 8 plus n is the product of, is our equal sign. Product means multiply, product of 5, 7, and 5. Here I could use parentheses around the product, but they're not necessary because there's nothing else happening on that side. In this last slide, we want to talk about translating an application or a word problem. So here they're telling us to write a problem based on the given information. F is the cost of fries. F plus 150 is the cost of a burger. So they've defined their variable, given us some extra information over here. And they've given us an equation. 4 times F plus 150 minus F equals 825. Well, let's just think about what this represents. Here we have 4 times and F plus 150 in parentheses. So that is talking about the cost of the burger. Here they're taking away F, so we have taken away the fries, and that's equal to 825. Notice they didn't take away 4 orders of fries, they took away 1. So one way to write a problem is to say if 4 friends go out to eat and each friend wants a hamburger, but one of them does not want any fries, their total is $8.25. So what is the cost of the French fries they will be receiving? Let's see what your book decided. The cost of a burger is $1.50 more than the cost of fries. 4 times the cost of a burger minus the cost of fries equals $8.25. How much do fries cost? So again, many different ways to come up with a problem for this. You could ask what F is equal to, like they are. You could ask what the total price would be for the fries for everyone. Many different ways to look at this here. So in a little bit you will be working on translating word problems as well. Remember, define your variables, and then most of the time you will be setting up the equation, not vice versa. So keep in mind the words they've used here. Recognize the translations. 4 times the cost of a burger is more than equals all those minus the cost. All those words are translating words. So as you're going through your word problems, underline the translating words and then translate those into an equation.